and we're into child abduction. We started out Council of Foreign Relations, University of Beirut. Maybe there was a few children that were adopted that were from war dead. Now that's turned into a child trafficking thing with Chaguri, and then Carlos Slim's father now with the whole child trafficking in South America and Central America. We originally were trying to just find dates, quote unquote, for these Middle Eastern contractors were trying to find dates for all the people who came to the world, all these oil sheikhs that came to the Council on Foreign Relations. And what that's led to is when the Sun then takes over that company, now we're into the white helmets with the child trafficking. So it starts out just getting dates, and that's kind of fun. And then when the prostitutes or when just the girls that get drugged at the parties start complaining, then we have the LISK situation. Now we're full-blown, 70 years later, University of Beirut all the way to here, where we're arranging children for people at oil conferences. So I'm just thinking now's the time that we really kind of need to examine our moral compass. We start a school kind of in the image of University of Beirut, kind of a spy school or et cetera, which is all for the right reasons. Train these women to go and, catalog these kids, try to get donations for these kids. Then we come up and we overlay the infiltration plan to get into our FBI and ruin our FBI. And then we start getting into these other wacky things, all these operations, all these covert operations. So again, starts with giving the rebels the stingers, and then it spirals out of control. Then we end up with situations like this, where we have well-meaning girls from that school on the page before, Monica Petersen, going down to Haiti, setting up a school there, doing all this stuff, great stuff with kids. But then we have this underlayer here of people taking those pictures of those kids and figuring out how to marshal them to parts unknown, out to Jeffreys Island in Little St. James out here, all the way to Africa, for African princes and so forth. So this is a gateway. We start here with a good spy, I think I would call her. She's trying to set up and compromise the folks in NATO so that we control NATO. If that's the course of the U.S. government, that's great. We start a spy program. This is Sibel Edmonds. We start a listening program for that, for national security. That sounds great. We compromise a few generals who we think might be risks to the Russians. Okay, that's great. But what does it turn into? It turns into this economic spying where we're all just trying to line our own pockets by becoming subcontractors. And it turns into the same program that Valerie Plame started just to control the NATO situation. So for the U.S. security, for whatever reasons, I can't question that, higher decision makers are involved in that, but it devolves down to where we're kidnapping children to use them for these brownstone operations. So at some point along the way, we need to shine a light and say, what are we doing? It's a church commission thing or a Pike Commission type of thing that we need to do. As a matter of fact, I've learned the Pike Commission documents come available in 2016, so Trump could publish those. George Bush put another 12 years on them in 2004 of sealing the records, but it'd be nice to see those Pike documents. So, and here again, we're doing these topples now, where we were just trying to influence before. Now we're doing these topples, and they're just bank robberies. I mean, at the end of the day, they're bank robberies. And these oil and gas plays that we're selling at the Council of Foreign Relations, they come at the cost of kids losing their right hand for blood diamonds and sarin gas attacks and child trafficking and all this stuff. And we've created a little economic spy unit, with these knocks, where everyone's getting in on the action. If CIA isn't enough, we have to have FBI in on that action. So it's just kind of, my only point about this kind of corruption is it just doesn't get better by itself. It just gets worse. It's like cancer. It just doesn't get better by itself.